So today I'm talking about coping mechanisms for stress and how simple things just like reading, writing, listening to music, and even painting can be really, really good for coping with the increased stress levels that we have in our day-to-day lives. So if you're someone who struggles with stress, this could be really useful for you. So keep on watching, keep on listening, and let's get started. Welcome back to consecutive day 1427, the diary of a runpreneur, if you believe in my mission of saving lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultra marathon of vlogging on consecutive days, barefoot style, the distance of a lap of the world. Then please do give this a subscribe, share, like and comment. Any engagement reaches more people, which ultimately raises more money, which will then save children's lives, which is every reason I put myself through this every single day. Thank you as always, and let's get started. So, consecutive day 1427, the diary of a runpreneur. And continuing on my book drafting process, we're talking about coping mechanisms for stress. And this is one of the foundational pillars or legs of the health stool, which is the foundational level that we all have to have robustly in place to progress and proceed towards whatever success looks like to us within our lives. And stress is a silent killer. I've talked about this a huge amount, and it's really, really important you have things in place to kind of deal with the day-to-day stresses that we have in our lives. Otherwise they can build up and build up and build up, and as a famous quote was once said, pressure bursts pipes, stress being the pressure, pipe being your mind, that if you don't kind of release that pressure regularly, you'll end up having a mental breakdown, which is absolutely what we're trying to avoid. So talked about other ways in which you can cope with stress, but today I want to talk about the simple things like reading, writing, listening, painting are all ways that can provide tranquility and distraction enough to kind of just relieve the kind of pressure build-up that stress can create. And really, really important that you also understand that what works for one doesn't work for others. We're all unique, we're all human beings, we all have individual personalities. I've talked about my preferred mechanism as my coping mechanism for stress is my running vlog, Diary of a Runpreneur. It's my therapy because I talk, I'm out in nature, which I get the tranquility of nature, and I'm exercising. So there's kind of three different coping mechanisms for stress stacked on one another. So I get a huge kind of supercharged version of my coping mechanism for stress, which allows me to control the stresses that live in my daily life and what my ADHD mind creates, and keeps me at equilibrium, which allows me to kind of operate at the levels that I operate at. But that's not right for everybody, and quite often it can be simple things like reading, writing, listening to music, or listening to calming kind of materials, or painting, that can be a really, really good way to cope with the daily stresses that we all experience. So let's break these four things into different sections. So reading could be just that, whether it's reading something of interest to you or reading something that's very kind of slapcheek and easy to kind of digest. Could be reading a newspaper, reading a magazine. Try and avoid screens when I'm talking about reading, primarily focusing on actually kind of materialistic things. The problem with screens, maybe Kindles would be okay, but anything that has other apps and things that are installed on them that can be distractions can create stress rather than relieve it. So bear that in mind. But reading magazines, articles, newspapers, fiction, kind of factual based books can all be a great way of de-stressing the situation. I think the reason for it is it takes you away from your reality, which allows you to kind of de-stress from the worry and the anxiety that reality may be bringing to you. So reading's a great way. The other one is writing. So A lot of people journal, write a diary. It's kind of I verbalise my kind of pressures in life through my vlog, but other people write them down in a journal or a diary. That's the same principle. You're unloading, just in a different kind of channel. So writing can be really cool. Or it could just be a hobby that you write stories, or you write articles, you write blogs, you write something. It just, again, it creates an environment where either you're de-stressing your situation by unloading, or you're simply distracting yourself from reality by writing, by kind of taking your mind into a kind of a different world or a different dynamic where you don't have those daily pressures kind of eking on your mind. So it can take you to a different kind of parallel mental universe, if that makes sense. So yeah, absolutely, writing can be really good. Listening to music, listening to audible books, listening to podcasts, listening to kind of therapeutic sounds, kind of meditation, kind of rituals, all these things that you can listen to, again, will do a similar thing. It's taking you away from the reality, distracting you. Ideally, you want to be listening, would you recommend not listening to kind of audible stuff which is very linked to your world or your business or entrepreneurial journey. I've talked about this in the kind of mental health section, where you're kind of continuing to learn, develop your mind. What I'm talking about here in listening is kind of the opposite, kind of things to distract you from your reality, which allows you that kind of space away from the stressful life that you may live. So yeah, listening to kind of things that are a little bit less related to your reality, I think, is the kind of best way forwards in this section. So yeah, music is often great, but again, music you have to be a little bit mindful of. You can get music that can stress you out, because music will trigger memories, and you're listening to music that is kind of attached to kind of a negative situation that you've experienced, might not give the desired outcome. Again, you might listen to sad or love songs which could be linked to a separation of a previous partner of some kind. Again, try and steer clear of all that stuff. If you're going to listen to things which give kind of more uplifting. But again, you don't want anything that's kind of going to send you too crazy, because again, that can create stress just by the kind of different types of music. So music's a bit more of a complex one. Some people listen to kind of calming noises when they go to bed. Maybe it's kind of the sea, sounds of the sea, white noise, kind of nature, the jungle, these types of things that could kind of create a kind of tranquil environment. They work really well as well. So yeah, key point here is don't make it kind of too attached to something that's potentially going to be detrimental to your emotions. You want something that's going to be calming and soothing when you're picking what you listen to. And the last one is painting. So painting's quite a good one. Some people are very visual and are very kind of creative. I know entrepreneurs that paint because they paint abstract work which just shows how they feel. So it could be splashes of colours or all sorts of wild and wacky patterns, but it's their way of getting out their emotions in a visual, creative way. It can be a really, really cool way. Doing things that's never worked for me. Well, to be quite frank, I've never tried it, but I know people who swear by it. So absolutely, it's important I share this kind of potential pathway with you, how you can kind of alleviate or reduce your stress levels. So painting, it could be painting anything. It could be painting still lifes or portraits or just drawing or anything that's kind of creative. Creative is quite interesting because it kind of unlocks a different area of your brain, and providing it's not too intense, it can again distract you from reality and take you to an area where you can kind of live in a fantasy world or a parallel universe. And again, that's a great way of calming yourself down, relieving those stresses that can get pent up and built up and can ultimately kind of work into your body and kind of carry forward. You try to relieve all of these things to try and avoid that happening. So yeah, learning from a diary. I think another one you could possibly do is even I will touch on exercise in a different section, but could be massage, or kind of yoga, kind of Tai Chi types of meditative exercise. So it's not kind of strenuous stuff like what potentially running can be, or physical sport, but stuff that's calming and soothing and can relieve through, relieve your stresses through touch or through motion is another way. So massage can be a good one, especially if you're stressed and you get all uptight and stiff and your muscles seize up. Sometimes a massage every few weeks will release your muscles, release the tension, and again it can almost be like opening a pressure valve up on your body and just relieving that tension and pressure. So massage could be a good way. Like I say, Tai Chi, yoga, these types of kind of low intensity, but it can be very strenuous as well, but it can be a really good kind of way of relieving stress and pressure as well. So yeah, there's a little add-on to this section today. But yeah, ultimately, learnings from my diary are, first and foremost, we're all different. What's going to be a coping mechanism for one of us is going to be very different to the other, and I've given you some really good kind of variations today, and I'm very confident within one of the kind of 5 areas I've spoken about, there'll be something in there that will work for each and every one of you, hopefully. We've talked about kind of the process of reading, we've talked about the process of writing, we've talked about the process of listening, we've talked about the process of drawing or painting, and we've also focused on the kind of process of touch and light meditative kind of exercise. All are very, very different ways that kind of attach to different sensory areas of our body, which, like I say, we're all different, but fairly sure one of those areas would work better for you than the others, and your kind of responsibility is to find out which one that is, and then kind of create a ritual or a reinforced habit within your world that allows you to de-stress and cope with the intense levels of stress that we all experience on a day-to-day basis in your own way. And do it, rinse and repeat on a continual basis, and you will just go from strength to strength in your ability to manage stress. Like I've said, is a silent killer. So anyway, hope that's useful. Question or comment, drop me a line, I'll respond to everyone. Do remember to believe in my mission of saving the lives of children by attempting the ultimate ultramarathon of run blogging on consecutive days, barefoot style, the distance of a lap of the world. Do give this a subscribe, share, like, and comment. The more people we get in front of, the more money we raise, and ultimately the more children's lives we save, which is every reason I put myself through this every single day. Thank you, as always. Stay positive, stay happy. See you again tomorrow.